comment on all of the things that happen inside of personnel decisions. None of our Foreign Service officers would welcome the Secretary of State talking about why someone stayed, why someone was removed, why someone was transferred. It wouldn't be appropriate. If we get into it once, we've got to get into it, George. And I just won't do that, George.
But sir, if false things are being said about one of your professionals, don't you have a duty to stand up and speak out on behalf of that professional?
George, no Secretary of State has defended its team members, has done things that served them well, that took care of their families, that made sure that they were getting promotions. We have, by the end of this year, more Foreign Service officers on duty than at any time, George, a couple hundred years of the State Department. At any time in the State Department's history, we've done great things for these officers. I see these stories about morale being low. I see things precisely the opposite. I see motivated officers. I've watched them perform in Syria this week. I've watched them perform in difficult situations during my year and a half as Secretary of State. I'm incredibly proud of the work that they've done, and I will always defend them when it's appropriate.
That may be, sir. And your senior advisor, Mike McKinley, who also testified in Capitol this week, did praise many aspects of your leadership, but pointed out that he tried very hard to get a statement of support for Ambassador Yovanovitch after the July 25th phone call, which you were on with President Trump, where he called her bad news. Yet that statement didn't come.
So Mike McKinley served me well for a year and a half. I chose him. I had people tell me he was a great Foreign Service officer, and in fact, he served America wonderfully for 37 years. He, in fact, had the office that was just behind mine, had a door that he could walk in any time and say whatever he wanted. From the time that Ambassador Yovanovitch departed Ukraine until the time that he came to tell me that he was departing, I never heard him say a single thing about his concerns with respect to the decision.
So you were never asked to put out
not once, George, did Ambassador McKinley say something to me during that entire time period.
You were never asked to put out a statement in support of Ambassador Yovanovitch?
George, again, I'm not going to talk about private conversations that I had with my most trusted advisors. I think it's most appropriate that trusted advisors keep these conversations precisely where they are. Imagine if it becomes commonplace that a Secretary of State would talk about things that his closest advisors said to him. I think you would agree, George, that advice would change. People would be reluctant to speak. It wouldn't be appropriate. I don't intend to do that.
This is not a commonplace situation, as you know, and you have drawn criticism from professionals. I want to, Bill Burns, who was the former Deputy Secretary of State, served Republican and Democratic presidents for over 30 years, wrote an article in Foreign Affairs magazine this week called The Demolition of U.S. Diplomacy, and here's how he described what you allowed with Ambassador Yovanovitch. Secretary Pompeo allowed specious opposition research about Yovanovitch to circulate around the department and sat on his hands as Trump slandered Yovanovitch on the infamous call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and warned ominously that she's going to, quote, go through some things. He then goes on to say the ghost of Roy Cohn was smiling somewhere, comparing it to McCarthyism. Your response?
That's crazy. I think Bill Burns must be auditioning to be Elizabeth Warren's Secretary of State.
But, sir, the question is, did you speak?
I mean, people have opinions, George. Everyone's entitled to theirs. Bill Burns is clearly looking for a spot in the next administration. That's fine. He's entitled to that view. I have to tell you, I've had a number of Foreign Service officers walk into my office and tell me how much they appreciate the way we're handling this process.
And finally, sir, one more quote from Mick Mulvaney on Thursday, where he was describing how he saw the Foreign Service professionals going up to testify in Capitol Hill this week. Let's listen.
What you're seeing now, I believe, is a group of mostly career bureaucrats who are saying, you know what, I don't like President Trump's politics, so I'm going to participate in this witch hunt that they're undertaking on the Hill.
Is that how you view those who are testifying?
No, I have a different view. My view is that each of us has a solemn responsibility to defend the Constitution and to speak the truth. I said this the other day. I hope those officers who go to Capitol Hill will speak truthfully, that they'll speak completely. I only wish that this was a process that merited such a response. This has been unfair in the nth degree. We've got officers going up there to testify about important security-related matters without a State Department lawyer in the room, and then we're not being allowed to know what it says. We're not able to protect the State Department. We're not able to protect the United States of America, and Adam Schiff ought to be embarrassed by the kangaroo court that he's running.
Will you testify if you're called by the committees?
I've said all along, I'll do everything I'm required to do by law.
Secretary Pompeo, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.
Up next.